9 out of 10 people who try to make money with AI fail. Not because they're stupid, but because they don't understand something super critical. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Kia, and I've been implementing AI into businesses for quite a while now. And during this time, I've seen a lot of what works and also a lot of what doesn't work. So in this video, I'm going to first show you the options that you have when it comes to making money with AI, and then I'm going to tell you why 90% of people fail. Then once we have the basics down, I'm going to show you the unsexy way to make millions in 2025. Now, I call it unsexy because it's not going to be another get-rich-quick scheme. I'm going to give you a simple roadmap that you can follow to not only make millions, but even billions if executed properly. Now, I know that sounds like a huge claim, but just bear with me for now because everything will make sense by the end of this video. Now, there's 3 prominent strategies when it comes to making money with AI. Number 1, you can do AI consulting, which basically just means you consult businesses and you build them strategies and roadmaps of implementing AI into their business. So just to give you an example, imagine company A is a big accounting firm and they want to now become an AI first business. So what they'll do is they'll go to a consultant and that consultant will give them advice on how they can achieve that objective. So when I say AI consulting, I want you to think more of an advisory firm telling businesses how they can implement AI into their business. The second approach that you have is to build an AI agency. Now, I'm sure all of you guys have already heard of the term AI agency, but if you haven't, the idea is to build custom solutions for businesses. So let's say, for example, company A again, which is the accounting firm, wants to automate a specific onboarding process. What they'll do is they'll come to you, they'll give you their requirements, and you'll build out that automation for them. So when I say AI agency, I want you to think of custom solutions. Now, the third approach, which is now becoming more and more popularized, is the idea of building AI products. Now, the idea behind AI products is you have one solution that you've already developed from before, and now you're selling that solution to as many people as possible. So think back to the big accounting firm. Instead of you going and asking that accounting firm what they want and solving their specific problem for them, what you're doing is you're building a solution, let's say, for example, an onboarding automation for all accounting firms, and then you're selling that to every single accounting firm you can. So when it comes to AI agencies, that development is custom, happening for each customer, whereas with AI products, you're doing that development in advance, you're building that solution, and then you're just trying to sell it to as many people as you possibly can. Now, the $1 million question is, which one of these 3 approaches should you follow? Or should you even follow any of these approaches at all? Well, let's see. Now, AI consulting is great. And honestly, a good portion of our business's revenue comes from AI consulting. But the reality about AI consulting is that it's really not beginner friendly. So if you're someone that's now just entering the industry for the first time and you either don't have a lot of technical expertise or you don't have a lot of experience implementing AI into businesses, I wouldn't recommend going down the consulting route straight away. You're going to have a very tough time answering the questions that people are going to ask you, and because you won't have good answers, people won't actually trust to engage with you long term. So AI consulting is a great place to be, but it's not realistic for most beginners. Then the next one is AI agencies. And I know recently there's been this massive trend on YouTube of people saying AI agencies are dead and they're useless and they're a waste of time and you shouldn't invest in building an AI agency. And you know what? I honestly do agree with some of the arguments that they do make. For example, AI agencies are not scalable. And the reason why they're not scalable is, as I said again, with AI agencies, what you're doing is you're solving each person's problem. So you go to customer number 1, they have a specific problem. You have to do a whole bunch of discovery to understand that problem and figure out how you can solve it. And only then you can actually build out the solution for them and get paid. But the problem now is that you go to customer number 2, and with customer number 2, you got to do the same exact thing. You got to figure out what their problem is, figure out the solution, and then build that solution for them. And now continuously doing that for every new customer is obviously very resource intensive because there's a lot of discovery that goes into building out each of these solutions. And so although I do think AI agencies are a great place to start for most beginners, I don't think they're a great long-term business plan. Because the reality is running your AI agency isn't going to be very scalable in the long term, especially if you want to scale beyond 20, 30K a month. And so we reach the third business model, and that's to build an AI product. Now, as I said, the idea of an AI product is you just solve one problem and then you sell that solution to every single person that has that specific problem. And so I'm sure you can imagine, because you don't have to do that discovery 1,000 times and learn about 1,000 problems and build 1,000 solutions, it's going to be very scalable. So if we compare selling custom solutions, which is the agency route, to selling products, what will happen with AI products is eventually you'll end up making a lot more money than you make with custom solutions. And so I know a lot of people that generally follow the get rich quick schemes have recently come to the AI space and they're trying to build insane products that are going to make them millions, billions, trillions of dollars. And yes, I know it all sounds amazing on paper, but it's not that simple. Because if you understand the fundamentals of business and basic economics, you'd understand that everything is supply and demand. As a business owner, for you to make money, you need a customer to pay you. And for that customer to want to pay you money, you have to solve a specific problem for them. So just to give you an example, let's say I have a very dirty house and I want it clean. So what I'll do is I'll go and find someone that provides cleaning as a service and I'll get them to come and clean my house. And in exchange for them cleaning my house, I'll pay them money. So what has happened is that person that sells cleaning services has come and fixed my problem, which was my dirty house. And because they solved a problem for me, I was willing to pay them money, which in turn meant their business made a sale. So if you're sitting there and trying to think of how you can make money with a business, what you should really be thinking is, what are you selling and who are you selling it to? Because if you know a specific person has a specific problem, all you have to do is solve that problem for them and get paid. So with that in mind, when you want to build an AI product, you shouldn't be thinking, what product should I build? You should be thinking, what problem should I solve? That is the extremely important mindset shift that you have to make if you want to build successful products. Because like I said, if you're just building a product that doesn't actually solve a real problem, well then no one is actually willing to pay you money for that product. And that is exactly why we have all these people building out AI startups and AI products, and they spend months and months building out these products in advance before they finally launch. And then once they launch, they make no money. They get no customers. The reason is that they haven't actually found a real problem. They didn't invest in finding a real validated problem before they started building a solution for it. So technically they built a solution to a problem that only existed in their mind. So how would you expect a consumer or a customer to buy a solution that only exists to a problem that you made up? And that is exactly why I would never recommend trying to brainstorm product ideas. If you find yourself sitting on your book trying to come up with AI products that you can build to be the next Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, I can tell you that it's going to be very likely that none of those products are actually going to succeed, because none of those products are going to solve a real problem for a real customer. So please, if you're entering the AI space for the first time and you want to build an AI product, awesome, go ahead, but make sure you're actually solving a real problem. So go from problem to product. Don't go from product to problem. Don't sit down and build some random system that you thought might be really cool and then reverse engineer it and say, okay, well, what problem does this solve and who potentially has this problem? Let me try and go sell to them. If you do that, it's very likely that you're not going to succeed. And honestly, that's exactly why 90% of people don't succeed. Because most people want to get rich quick. And so they think that if they sit down and build some random product, it's suddenly going to go super viral and they're going to make a whole bunch of money. But what actually ends up happening is, instead of them ever making money from it, they just end up making no money from it. And then at the very end, after let's say 6 months of building the solution and trying to market it to a customer that doesn't actually exist, they give up and they say the AI space is fake and AI is a bubble and you can't make money from AI and Kia is a guru and yada, yada, yada. And I'm never, ever, ever going to try run a business ever again. That is exactly what we want to try and avoid. Now, I'm saying all of this because I was literally one of those people. I remember when we first started our agency, me and my co-founder at the time would sit down and try and come up with all these crazy AI product ideas. And when I look back at them now and I think of those ideas, I actually think they were funny and they were ridiculous. But at the time, we had no clue that they were actually really bad ideas. But what really changed the game for us is that one day we spoke to a mentor who'd built and sold a really big fintech company. The conversation we had with him literally changed everything for us. He said that back in the 90s when he first started his business, he started off as a custom software development agency. And what he was doing at the time, just like a custom AI agency, he was selling custom solutions to different businesses. So he'd go to a business, figure out what problems they had, and then he would solve one of their problems with a custom software. So he continued that same custom business model for some time until eventually he found a specific problem that multiple of his customers had. There was a specific thing related to credit cards that all of these different, I think it was insurance companies, needed that wasn't in the market. And they were all willing to pay him for a custom software. And so what he did is he built that solution for one of those companies and then he resold it to everyone else as a product. So with the background I gave you until now inside the video, this should make perfect sense to you. What he did is he found the problem first, and then he solved that problem and resold the solution to everyone. Now his approach is what I call the unsexy way to make millions. It's probably the most deterministic and boring route to actually become successful. And the main key point of this approach is that you find a real problem first. Just like the mentor did in the story I just shared with you, what you want to do is find a real problem that's actually worth solving. And this is exactly how you do it. Number one, you choose a niche. A niche is basically just a group of customers that you want to target. For example, your niche might be accountants, or your niche might be insurance companies, or your niche might be dentists, or your niche might be marketing agencies, whatever it is. You want to find a group of people that are all very similar, and then you want to target them. So number one, choose the niche. Then once you've chosen the niche, what you want to do is you want to run an AI agency. Now, if we go back to the business model of running an AI agency, what you're basically doing is you're talking to different customers, trying to find what problems they have and solve those problems for them. Now, let's say if all the customers that you're talking to are all inside the same niche, what would happen is eventually you'd find problems that are shared between all of these customers. For example, if they're all accountants, they might all want you to automate a certain part of their onboarding process. And if there's multiple people inside the same niche that all want the same exact solution, well then what you can do is you can build the solution for one of them and then resell it to all of the other ones. And that is exactly how you can make millions in 2025 without any guesswork. So just to reiterate, the idea is you find a niche, you run a custom AI agency for that niche, and you try to talk to as many people as possible inside that niche. You find the recurring problem that all of them have. You build an AI product that solves that recurring problem, which is indeed a real problem, and then you resell that to everyone else. It's literally that easy. If you can find a real problem worth solving, you're already 90% of the way there. Now, if we go back to the graph that we had showing custom solutions versus products, the new approach that I just introduced, which is custom to products, is actually much better than both of those approaches individually. So you might even call this a hybrid approach. And as I said, the approach is literally just to start custom first, meaning start with an agency inside a niche, and then build a product inside that niche and resell it to everyone else. Now, not only this approach is really good because you actually find a real problem, which will take the guesswork away from building out the solution, but it's also really good because it allows for you to take advantage of the benefits of each of these approaches individually. So for example, if we have two people, one of them doing custom solutions and another one doing products, the person doing custom solutions is likely going to make money first. So they'll get to money quicker. And the reason for that is that the person that's building the product will actually have to spend a couple of weeks or months building that product before they're finally ready to go to market. Whereas during that time, the custom solutions person was already selling solutions to people because they were getting paid for the development of those projects. And they weren't optimizing for anything in advance. But the reality is the person selling custom solutions will hit their capacity pretty quickly. And this is the downside of running AI agencies. And that's why on YouTube, all these people are saying AI agencies are dead and they're BS and don't do it and yada, yada, yada. But the person selling products will eventually make more money because they don't have to fulfill each of those projects individually. They fulfill it once and they resell it to everyone. And so with the hybrid approach, because you're starting with selling custom solutions, you're going to start making money very quickly. And then also because you're actually finding a real problem and building a product around that problem, which you're going to resell to everyone, you will be able to scale way beyond custom solution limits. And the beauty is that in this scenario, you're never going to do free work because even the initial version of that product that is being built is going to be a custom solution that you build for someone. So for example, if we go back to the idea of the big accounting firm, what you'll do is you build a solution for that accounting firm. And because you know every other accounting firm also wants it, you resell it to everyone. So not only do you get paid for the first iteration of that solution, you also get paid by reselling it to all these other people. And so with this approach, you never do free work, you make money quickly, and also you scale way beyond a normal AI agency's limits. And so I fundamentally believe that AI agencies are not dead. They're a perfect place for you to start, but you don't want to stay there long term. The most important thing, however, is that you make sure you have a niche so you can actually identify a recurring problem so you can later transition into selling products to those people inside that niche. Now, I hope that approach makes sense for everyone. As I said, it wasn't a get rich quick scheme. You're probably not going to make $1 million tomorrow, but if you do stick through, eventually you will be very successful because you're actually putting the time in to identify a real problem before you sit down and you try and develop a solution for it. And I just want to close off with this one very important fact that I feel obligated to share with you guys because I have this platform. All I want to say is be patient. Business as a whole isn't a sprint. Business is a marathon. The problem with social media is that it creates unrealistic expectations that eventually gets people to become demotivated and quit. We always see all these people on YouTube and Instagram and all these other places that have quote unquote reached overnight success. Meaning one day they don't have money and then I don't know, a month or 2 months later, they suddenly have a Lamborghini and all this money inside their bank account. And when you compare that to your own life and you might have been grinding trying to create a business for like 6 months or 1 year, you might think that they're smarter than you, or you might think that you're just not capable as an entrepreneur. But that isn't the reality. The reality is that overnight success might exist from an outside perspective, but from an inside perspective, there is no concept as overnight success. Because even these people that you see on social media that suddenly make 100K per month or 200K per month or $10 million per month, these people might have actually become successful overnight. But the reality is that they've been grinding in their business for months and years before that. And obviously, because you weren't there inside their house to see them grinding day and night, you would just think that they suddenly became successful. But the reality is, if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to spend that time to learn the lessons that are important for you to eventually become the person that's capable of becoming that successful. And so if you guys are one of the people that are currently on the journey and they've been working for a pretty long time, but they haven't really seen any real results, keep pushing. Because the reality is business is sporadic. Your breakthrough might only be a couple of weeks or a couple of months away. And if you don't keep pushing, you'll never actually reach there. But the journey that you're currently going through, learning all these lessons and making all these mistakes, is actually super critical for you to eventually have that quote unquote overnight success. So I'm going to leave you guys with that message because I wish that someone told me that over the years that I was trying to build my business and I was seeing all these other people that were so successful and I just kept trying and nothing was happening. Because the reality is it's very easy to compare yourself to other people and think that you're just not good enough. But the reality is that you are good enough and you will make it. All you have to do is stay consistent and keep pushing. Now, as always, if you guys found this video valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.